Hello and welcome to the Would You Watch It With Your Mother podcast, where three friends subject each other to weird videos, films, and shows that they found on the internet. Each week we'll describe the videos, have a discussion about what we saw, before finally asking the big question, would you watch it with your mother? So sit back, relax, and roll that intro.
No, screw it. I think we should just keep everything in so far.
I'll buzz that one out as well, so no one knows what you actually said.
I like that the start of this podcast is just buzz. Buzz.
I'll keep buzzing you out until you actually start the show. What's the show?
Hey guys, so today's episode is Would You Watch It With Your Mother? What am I introducing?
No, today's episode is Would You Watch It With Your Mother? What's it been for the last couple of weeks?
Oh my god. This is brilliant. I love this. This should just be the podcast. We don't actually talk about what we need to. We just do this shit.
So would you watch it with your mother? Big question.
This is Would You Watch It With Your Mother? Gab chose what we watched this week. Bushby is written description. Gab, what did we watch this week?
We watched Thunderbolt Fantasy. Hooray!
What is this?
Why am I getting a phone call?
Tell me.
Okay. So it's anime meets Thunderbirds meets steroids. This show is just wild on so many levels. It's incredibly fast-paced, packed with so much action you occasionally forget to read the captions, and features some simply brilliant character introductions, as well as probably the greatest self-decapitation of all time. Yeah, this one's without a doubt the best one, just because of the skill involved in it. He throws a sword up, it comes down, hits him in the neck, and he grabs onto it and spins around. His head shoots off and gets carried by a skeletal bird thing. It's incredible.
If that doesn't sum up the show, I don't know what will. Sure.
What is it? What is this? What did you watch?
This is kind of an anime, kind of a Taiwanese Hotogeki doll thing. So it's like a cross between puppetry and anime. So it's a Japanese-Taiwanese co-production. The puppets and actual main production of the show are done by Pili International Media. I hope I said that right. A Taiwanese glove puppetry show producer from Taiwan, basically. They specialize in traditional Taiwanese glove puppetry and enhancing it with some cinematography. Big words, sorry, hold on. And enhancing things with CG. The writing and story are the Japanese part, with the character names being based in like Chinese, because Barnaby
Chinese.
can tell me more about why. Because why is it that their names are Chinese? Is it something to do with Taiwan? My brain's slipping.
Welcome to Barnaby's History Corner. So, we're going to take everyone down a little history lesson here. Right. So, Taiwan has historically been part of China, the mainland and the island of Taiwan having a very interconnected history. However, in the last century, 20th century, for anyone that didn't know, or if anyone that's listening in the future, very far in the future, Taiwan became colonized by Japan, and then basically once Japan lost the Second World War, a civil war occurred in China. It actually been going on for a very long time, but there'd been a peace agreement during the Second World War between the communist forces and the so-called nationalist forces. Basically, the end of the war, communist forces won the mainland, but the nationalist forces fled to Taiwan, and which still exists as a de facto independent country, though I don't want to get into it because it's complicated, and one side says it is a country, one side says it's not a country. Functionally, for the purposes of this, it is, but its culture is very rooted in Chinese culture because it is debatably part of China, or not, depending who you ask.
Thank you, Barnaby.
Okay, yeah.
You're welcome.
So-
But they speak Chinese, and most of the culture is based in Chinese mythology and history and characters. So these characters are loosely based off ancient Chinese figures and mythical figures. And
Sweet. Okay, so written and produced by Gen Urobuchi, who's a Japanese novelist and visual novel writer. And the show basically came about when Urobuchi, I'm probably butchering this name, so apologies, whoever you are, discovered Peely's work at a comic convention that he was invited to Taiwan.
Urobuchi.
There we go.
Urobuchi. There we go.
Inspired by this impressive art form from insert name here, went about trying to find out how he could produce a series like this. Word reached Peely that he was doing this, and this resulted in both parties contacting each other, asking if they wanted to create something. It spawned 2 seasons, nearly 3, a novel and a manga series, and it's pretty damn good, if I do say so myself.
Yes. And it is, just to emphasize, it is literally puppets.
Yeah.
It's puppets fighting each other. There will be sometimes shots where it's like actually people, like models, like people. I believe a lot of the foot shots will be someone putting their foot down, like twisting it, and then like if there's like a close up of someone grabbing something, I believe it will be a hand. And also some horrific CG.
There's
sometimes.
one horrific CG monster that we remember, but you won't. Yeah. It's in it so shortly that you'll forget about it.
Well, we may as well get to the point. Well, I believe we've got a funny little anecdote. How did you find this, Gav?
So we found this.
I remember the story.
We found this back at uni, and we were looking for something on Crunchyroll that was just we were like random stuff. What can we find? This looks tragically bad. Let's watch this. And then we put it on.
I believe you put it on because you and the friend that were doing that know that I really dislike CG animation. And you mistook it for CG animation. But then it just turned out to be puppets and was actually the most badass thing in the world.
Yeah.
Badass enough to get Bushby to be on board.
Honestly, when we first found it and we just looked at it and we looked at what it was and we were like, oh, this looks like it's going to be, garbage. Barnaby's going to hate this. Throw it on. We start watching it. Suddenly there's epic fights in the first 2 minutes of it, and we're there like, what the hell is this amazing little gem we've discovered? And then we get to the end of the first episode, and then we're just there looking at each other going, what the fuck?
It's the best. Bushby, did you when we were originally watching it, were you there when we watched the entire first season? Were you watching it with us?
Maybe not. I vaguely remember bits of it, but I think it was always on, and I was either walking past or just not paying attention to it really.
A true hero.
Yeah. I definitely remember the puppets and some of the weird stuff that happens, but I not all of it. Put it this way, watching these first 2 episodes, it all felt completely brand new, almost.
Good.
So, yeah.
The first experience is the best one.
What can you remember from the first 2 episodes? They should be fresh in your mind.
Yeah. Well.
So try and tell us the plot literally as what happened.
Right. Okay. So.
Spoilers for anybody wanting to watch Thunderbolt Fantasy's first 2 episodes.
Well, this will just be the first 2 episodes, so
it's only the first 2. There's a lot more to go.
Yeah, we won't spoil the rest of it.
So, brother and sister are running away from bad guys who are after the handle of a sword that's protected as something. I don't really know. I can't remember the full. But I was confused by
handle
the
and the guard. They basically each have a piece of it.
Yes. And then brother dies, sister falls off a cliff, but she's fine.
Don't question it.
And then because there's this man with white hair and another man who steals an umbrella from a Buddha,
Let me try and get the names of just so we can say it once.
And then Mr. Umbrella Stealer walks off, finds this woman, comes to protect her. Turns out he's a really good fighter. Even though he's a bit like, oh, I don't want any part of this, blah, blah, blah. Gets in fight with one of the guys who was tracking the woman who decapitates himself.
But why does he decapitate himself?
That's crucial.
Didn't he, like, pretty much lose the fight, but then he chopped his head off so that the bony skeletal eagle thing would take his head back to the head bad guy, who looked into his eyes to see the name of the guy who killed him.
For record, when he says head bad guy, he doesn't mean a bad guy that is a head.
Yeah.
And that's not why he did the main bad guy. I just thought that, and you were talking about decapitation. I'm like, no, he's not the man who collects heads.
He's just got a collection. Yeah.
He does have a collection, but not of heads. Of swords. Which he mentions.
So, yeah, it was to do a weird, essentially turn his head into a projector.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so that's pretty much the first episode. Then the second episode, it's just more characters that come along. Like there's a dude with a spear who has an amazing introduction because he just jumps into this fight and is like, I'm going to stick with you, Mr. Fighty Guy, against the bad guys. And everyone's like, I don't know who he is or why he's here or anything. And then turns out his brother, I think it is the one-eyed Hawkeye. Who,
yes, do you want to do you want to explain the science between the one-eyed hawk guy?
So what?
The science.
'Cause is there a science? Like he was, he said he can kind of predict where people die or something because he does the magic thing with like 3 arrows, shoots them up into the sky, fights these geezers. 2 of them get hit with arrows, and the female like just misses, and is like, not many people get to choose where they die, so you can go if you want, and then she disappears. Is it something like that?
Is it not this episode where he says, I can shoot further and more accurately than anybody else because of my one eye?
Yeah, he does.
Is it not
right
this
before
episode?
he takes the shot. No, it's that episode.
Which, I'm considering that when you lose an eye...
You have no depth perception.
But he can somehow tell further because his one eye is better.
Yes.
Yes, that's good science.
He does
I mean,
have
they
like
are
better
puppets.
one eye, I must admit.
I mean, this is also the same show where a man, again, not to keep dwelling on the decapitation, but he does throw a sword up into the air, lets it land in his neck, and then he uses like the momentum of his body to turn the sword around to cut his head off, which then acts as a propeller and air chute, which shoots his head high up enough into the sky for a boomerang that has now turned into a demon bird to then pick up his head. So maybe we shouldn't question the science of Thunderbolt Fantasy.
Can we just appreciate there's magic in this? There's magic. Doesn't have to be explained with physics. Magic.
Yes, but he does also say specifically that he can shoot better because of his one eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Oh, my favorite part is when the archer guy starts shooting the arrows, and the guy with the staff's just there, like, you should probably just sit down. Like, you're in the middle of a fight. He's like, yeah, just sit down. You're gonna get in this guy's way. He just starts laying down, like taking a nap. Like, this will be over in a minute.
So that is the first few episodes. Do you, Bushby, have a sense of where the show is going?
Absolutely no idea. So that's the thing. It's well, more or less. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be a classic kind of trope of heroes group together, fight off with bad guys every now and then. At one point, bad guy gets the guard and the handle of the sword, and then get the sword, and then something happens, and then it changes around, and good guys win. Yay!
How would you feel if I told you that you're not really close at all? Because
happy, I guess. I like things that are kind of a little bit, away from the norm. I mean, this definitely is.
This is definitely one of those categories.
I struggle to think of anything I've watched outside of like a comedy that's taking the piss that has so many twists and turns. Like, you will learn things about a character and their entire motivation will seemingly change, only for that to get flipped on its head and then for something else to happen. And it is quite hard to keep up.
It's very fast paced, but it keeps you in because you always wonder what's happening next.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. I mean, to be fair, I was kind of because that first episode, like, so much happened. Like, going straight into the second episode was a breeze. Like, I was actually ready for it to happen. Yeah. And then, like, because second episode kind of slowed down a bit. I mean, it was still very fast paced, but it did slow down a little bit. And it was like, okay, it's starting to get into this. But then at the end, when Mr. One-Eye Archer Man pulled his bow and arrow onto main dude at close range, and he's like, "Are you whatever his name is?" I can't remember. And then it ended there. I was like, "You can't end there!" And I was screaming at the screen. It's like, you can't just finish there. I need to watch the rest of it.
You better keep watching. You better keep watching.
Yeah, I might have to.
Feel like it is worth mentioning there is not an English dub for this.
Subtitles is the way.
You may have noticed in the first two episodes that there is a lot of dialogue. There is a lot of dialogue. As it keeps going, there's entire episodes where it's just long monologues and conversations back and forth. So if that's something that turns you off, very serious Japanese voices talking about stuff that's very serious, I guess. But I've also just watched someone fire an arrow from like 100 miles away into somebody's head.
Honestly, I feel like even though there is serious episodes, this show is very much fast-paced.
Oh, it's incredibly
action
fast-paced. Beauty.
And considering it's all done through puppetry and like good cinematography, it's on another level, honestly, from anything I've ever seen puppet-wise. Not that I've seen a lot of puppet-based stuff, but...
Can we just appreciate how clean and good the action scenes are compared to, like, other live-action movies?
It's incredible. It really is good.
Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, because obviously, seeing that it was mainly puppet-based, I was a little bit concerned, because it's like... I've always said I don't really like puppet stuff, but then again, everything puppet-wise I've seen I've actually liked. Like, Thunderbirds, when I was a kid, loved it. Captain Scarlet, same thing, loved it. Team America, loved it. But
I like how we put Team America in the same way.
Yeah, but it's like, it's very... You can tell it's puppets, like, 100%. Nothing runs smoothly at all. With this, it was... It was kind of like how it should be done, really. It was good. I liked it.
I'm going to regret saying this if...
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Every shot in this has so much effort in. And I feel like the only scene in Team America... There's two scenes in Team America where they put this much effort in. The opening scene. And the sex scene.
Yeah.
Were the only scenes in that entire film that they put in a modicum of effort into making the actual puppets look human and act human. Which is ironic, because in the sex scene they do things that no human can do.
It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous.
Hey, look, they knew where they had to put the budget, that's all.
All the fake poop.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just fantastic show. Fantastic action scenes, fantastic. I think the dialogue is fantastically written. I think you can tell a novelist worked on this, because when there is dialogue, when there is character development discussion. It's very clear, but it allows itself to have a little bit of complexity to it.
I like the little bit of where you can see the culture coming in, like the raining on top of the Buddha and him taking an umbrella, and then him just being there like, kind of just take the fucking umbrella, because he's obviously not from this land, and the guy's just there like, no, you have to do a good deed if you do that. Like, come on, be real here. You got to treat this Buddha with respect. And the man's just there like, looking all confused like, sure, whatever, alright, taking this umbrella. It's only a statue at the end of the day.
Very disrespectful. Very disrespectful.
But at least he does, like, help the lady he comes across, for whether it's good for him or whether it's awful for him. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Just a very good show. Have you guys got anything you want to say about it?
I mean, I can't fault it, really. Like, I didn't know what to expect at all. I mean, it's not something I'd have chosen to watch ever. But it was meant. As I say, like, I think I might actually be hooked now. I might watch more of it.
Want to know who does the soundtrack for the intro? That's what I really want to.
I forgot about the music to it. It's brilliant. Like, everything in it is just brilliant.
Apparently, it's by Hiroyuki Sawano. He's done music for Attack on Titan, Kill la Kill, Seven Deadly Sins. He's done a lot of anime.
He's a big anime, Bushby. Big anime. Big money makers.
I've heard of Attack on Titan, but that's it.
Should we get into the questions?
Yeah, let's get into the questions, I guess.
We're just dwelling here.
This is going to be a short one, but yeah, sure.
It's very good. As having seen the first season, I haven't watched the second season, but season 1 is just, like, mind-blowing. It gets a little bit ridiculous, but, I mean, you can't really fault it on that, because it does warn you with the very first episode, where, I will repeat, a man does throw a sword into the air, lets it land in his neck, and then uses his own velocity to cut his own head off and spin it into the air. So,
yeah.
Alrighty.
I mean,
yes.
So I think the easy question is it good? And we already answered that. Because I don't think we can say anything else.
Well, we can discuss what criteria we're judging it on.
Sure.
I would say kind of split it, maybe. Do like a puppetry aspect and an anime aspect, maybe.
Again, it's not really an anime.
No.
Crunchyroll doesn't exclusively do anime.
It doesn't.
It's in a weird middle ground between things. I don't know.
I know they try to make it so that it's got like anime storyline and like fills into some of the anime categories with its like cinematography and stuff. But other than that, like, it's really hard to compare it. Like we were saying, it's hard to compare it to an anime because, like, what do you compare it to?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, just me with my very, very limited knowledge on anime, it does feel kind of like one, but not. But as I say, at this point in time, I've watched Pokemon and
Devil is a
part-timer.
Well, I guess
That's it.
One way it's kind of comparable to an anime is the idea of, the outsider or the vagrant coming in and being incredibly overpowered for the area he's in. That's quite common in anime, and like, I know, especially in Black Clover, like, there's a main character called Yami who's very much he's known as the outsider. He reminds me a lot of the main character in this show. But other than that, like, there's not much else I can compare, like, anime wise, like we were saying.
I find it refreshing in its setting. I find it very refreshing, it being very based in Chinese culture and mythology. Yeah, it's refreshing. I find that incredibly refreshing. Yeah, it's good.
So
it's very good.
Yeah.
Should we move on to what the fuck factor?
Yeah.
So, Bushby.
Bye.
As somebody who's just seen this recently, what would be your what the fuck scale? Because I can't believe this didn't make you say what the fuck at least twice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, especially like in the first 2-3 minutes of the first episode, it's heavy. There's a lot of stuff to take in straight away, and then I don't just. I'd say it's fairly medium high, like a 7 out of 10 if we're doing a number rating.
How many is that? Is that 7 numbers out of 10, or is that a 7 flying decapitated heads out of 10?
7 decapitated heads out of 10.
Yeah. 10 decapitated heads or 10 something else's?
I'll say 10 demonic birds.
10 demonic birds, right? That's quite a high rating.
Wow.
Yeah, so because it's like it's definitely above average, but I think we've definitely seen weirder stuff, and I don't know. It just comes across as all the weird stuff as well. It's just like, actually, no, this is really cool. Like,
honestly, I think it's weird in as far as it's like it catches you off guard. Like things happen that like you just don't expect because it just follows such an unconventional path. Like normally the enemy's like, I'm gonna fight you to the death. Not I'm gonna take my own head off and send it back to Boss Man.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10, but on a different what the fuck factor. What the fuck factor, not of how disturbed or shocked I was, but on what the fuck, this is too good. Blowing my mind just how good it is. I know puppetry's not for everyone. I didn't think puppetry was for me. Same as Bushby. I've had very limited experience with puppetry, but what I have seen outside of like Captain Scarlet, Thunderbirds, even Thunderbirds, I probably wouldn't choose to watch it now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know, I had this preconception that puppetry can't be as like exciting or visually pleasing or amazing as let's say an anime. But boy was I wrong. Yeah, what the fuck? It's too good.
No, I agree with you.
I don't think there's a single fight scene in the whole series that isn't good. Isn't really
there
good.
is one.
Well, the CG one is
we
that.
Don't speak of it. Yeah,
there is a scene. It's not really a spoiler. It's in the introduction of the show, but they fight a big CG rock monster, and that one isn't very good. But that's not really. I wouldn't say that's due to the puppetry.
No, it's not. It's due to the CG, which, to be fair, for the time period, CG sucked. CG is kind of getting better, but it's not.
It was last decade. It was 2016.
Yeah, well, it's slowly getting better. I've seen some good CG fights recently through Demon Slayer and other stuff. So, like,
well, it's not always necessarily CG getting better. It might be the use of the CG, because let's admit the CG in Thunderbolt Fantasy is like, man, we need to make a rock monster.
Yeah,
or just render him and not match him into the rest of the scene or make him look good.
You make a good point.
Because sorry, Bushby, diving back into anime for a minute.
Okay.
This will be for our Berserk friends.
Oh no!
People who like Berserk.
CG still have nightmares about that intro. Oh my god!
That's the good intro. Wait till you see the Berserk CG.
The Berserk CG, in my opinion, I know I've said that I don't like CG animation, but I think it's when it's done well, because CG animation can be done incredibly well. It's just things like Berserk 3D, everything feels very flat, and everything feels like, oh, we're just making an anime in this CG format, but we're not necessarily gearing it towards the world or the art style. They're just going, here's the art style, we'll translate it into CG. Boom, bada bing. And then, for me, that doesn't really work. But with something like Demon Slayer, they've really put that in to accentuate action scenes and accentuate the artwork and do things they can't necessarily do with just 2D animation.
It's more of a tool, I feel like. When people use it properly, you're right.
But people do like Berserk 3D, so I don't want to take that away from them. But for me, that's why it doesn't work. Anyway, one thing before we move on to the final question, unless anyone else has anything.
No, none. Please go ahead.
Can we just talk about how much like emotion and character they get off?
Oh my
just
god!
From these puppets,
it's insane. Honestly, the voice acting as well. Like, I know we can't understand most of it, but the storytelling and
I can't understand any of it.
But like the storytelling, the emotion that comes out of the voices hits me. You know, you don't necessarily have to understand what they're saying to feel the emotion coming out of a character. And like the use of blood, like tears, everything that goes on is just so specifically crafted to like generate this emotion and this world. It's insane.
Actually, to be fair, I just remembered the scene of when the sword guardian woman person is like just jumped off the cliff, and literally it's like a close up of her face, and you can just see like the tears flying out of her eyes. Like I felt something. I don't know what, but I felt something.
I felt bad for a puppet.
Yeah, which is weird.
I find it so bizarre. I haven't tried, but I feel like I could get a gist of what people are feeling from watching it without sound on. Like I feel like they really do a good job with those puppets and getting you to feel what they feel, and I never thought would be possible with a bunch of puppets. And they're not even like baby Yoda puppets where they spent like
so much money,
millions. I don't want to think how much they spent on Baby Yoda, but it's a very good puppet, and they move Baby Yoda's face with all the different animatronics, blah blah blah. It's not that kind of puppet. It's definitely not that kind of puppet. It's much more in line with the Thunderbird puppet. Yeah, fantastic.
If anyone's interested, on Crunchyroll as well, there is also a behind the scenes little documentary, episode 0. If anyone wants to go check that out as well, it's really fascinating to watch.
I saw literally like the first minute of it because I thought it was the first episode. I got really confused.
The first episode's really meta.
Yeah.
Wow. They actually take a look behind the making of themselves? What?
Whoa, that's so meta. Right. To avoid getting into any more anime references,
yeah,
for his sake, would you watch it with your mother? Gav?
Yes. I feel like my mum would like it. I mean, I honestly, I feel like a lot of people would like it, but wouldn't realize they'd like it until you show them it. It's one of those things where it catches you, like I say, it catches you off guard. There's a lot of emotion showed through puppets, which I think will catch a lot of people's attention. And honestly, if you like epic fantasy fighting, it's like right up your alley, because those first 5 minutes are, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, I would definitely watch it with my mother. She likes to have fun, and I feel like she enjoys action movies and stuff and scenes. I think she'd love this. Who wants to go?
It's a difficult one. I think I would watch it with my mum, but I honestly don't know whether she would like it or not. I mean, it's one of, because going into it, I didn't think I was gonna like it, but it might end up being like one of my favorite shows ever. So I don't know. I think she might like it, but it's a hard one to gauge, really.
But would you watch it? Like, if you had the opportunity just to be like, sit down, mother, do you want to watch this with me? She doesn't have to like it, but just watch the first 2 episodes. Would you do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Barnabooples?
Yeah, I'd watch this with my mum. I don't know if she would like it, but you know, it's basically an action movie. She'd probably accept that it was on. No, she might enjoy it. I don't see many people that wouldn't. I don't know. There are people that don't like specific types of stuff, like people who don't like things that aren't live action, people who don't like things in different languages, but like if you're a general movie goer, I'd say, or TV goer, yeah, I think you'd probably enjoy this, or at least be impressed at what people can do with puppets. That's my biggest takeaway from it. Honestly, I've seen the entire first season. I remember twists happening. A lot of twists. But my main takeaway from it is just how good it is as a piece of art, puppet, piece of culture, really. Bringing forward a piece of culture that I had no idea existed.
Really,
Taiwanese puppetry.
It's a nice little, like, I don't know whether to say homage or whatever, but it's a Taiwanese puppetry. Honestly, it's the only time I've ever seen it, and it's an absolute spectacle. I want to see more.
Hell yeah. Well,
I think that's the best way to end it, honestly.
Yeah. I think we're all fully in agreement with this. This is me.
Yeah.
Woo.
Well,
now the next step is we all have to watch it with our mothers.
Yeah.
No, we have to watch everything that we've watched so far with our mothers.
Yeah.
Everything that we said we would watch.
Yeah.
That was discussion at one point.
Yeah, and I think it could be interesting, but then again, I'm just remembering what I've said I would watch with my mum, and I'm like, I don't want to do that now.
Well, tough. You said you would.
Yeah, no, that's fair.